Hello, my name is Daniel Stalder with the Iowa Communications Alliance, bringing you a Week 14 legislative update from the Iowa Capitol. Before we get started into the policy discussions, I just want to mention that we are currently in Week 14. The legislative per diem ends on May 2nd. This is when legislators stop being reimbursed for their time in the Capitol. And it's not when the legislative session ends, but it's oftentimes a good indicator of when the vast majority of work should be done, and the only things that remain are just decisions to be made and paper to be pushed around the Capitol. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on a couple big subjects to give us a hint of when legislative session ends. If the past few years are any indication of when this year will end, then we will not be done until probably mid-May. But of course, there is a lot of time left, 2 full weeks, and so anything is possible. Last week in the newsletter, in the April, I believe it was April 11th newsletter, we put out a very soft call to action regarding Senate Study Bill 1209. This is the bill that would provide an alteration to an existing sales tax exemption for central office equipment utilized for telecommunication services. And that was largely targeted at the Iowa Senate Ways and Means Committee. I am happy to announce that that was a productive and successful call to action. We reached out to almost every member of the Senate Ways and Means Committee and encouraged the passage of Senate Study Bill 1209. Following that outreach, we were able to have productive conversations with the Senate chairmanship of Ways and Means, and we are thrilled to announce that we believe a bill will be scheduled for committee early next week, getting that through the next step of the process. The House Companion, House File 960, is scheduled for a vote in the full chamber on Monday, and so we are looking forward to advocating for central office equipment sales tax exemption through the passage of Senate Study Bill 1209 and House File 960. Now, I will mention before we go much further that this bill is coming up against the end of session very quickly, and it does contain a fiscal note that is running into some problems in the Iowa legislature. The Iowa legislature utilizes estimates generated by the Revenue Estimating Conference in order to set their annual budget, and they set these budgets in both they set these estimates in both December and in March during the legislative process. The legislature utilizes the March estimates, which actually came in slightly below where the December estimates came in for the next fiscal year. This means that every single appropriation that is going through the legislature, or everything that has a fiscal note, is getting an extra level of scrutiny this year. And so while our bill has a relatively small fiscal impact of just about $800,000 a year annually, that relatively small amount of money is raising more eyebrows than we have in the past. So we're going to continue to advocate for central office equipment sales tax exemption alterations. And while we are cautiously optimistic on its future this year, I think we're lending ourselves to be a little bit more cautious than we are to be optimistic that it's going to pass in 2025. However, we do have several weeks of session, and we still have work to be done on the policy. So look forward to seeing updates on Senate Study Bill 1209 as well as House File 960 in the coming weeks. But again, thank you to every one of our members who reached out to their legislators last week and nudged that bill along. If you had got a hold of your legislator, if they responded to you, do please follow up and say thank you for that work. That did lead to several productive conversations in the Capitol, and obviously our membership is one of our greatest assets, so you're willing to reach out to your legislator in the time of need is very helpful to that process. The other bill that we've been tracking very closely this session has been the Next Generation 911 legislation, and this remains an open subject in a lot of ways. The Iowa Communications Alliance distributed the Next Generation 911 survey just a few weeks ago, and we are just on the edge of releasing that information. We have a draft of the initial results, and so we're just going to be tweaking the language before we make that information public. But thank you to all 50 plus members of ICA that completed that survey. This gives us a great idea of what we should be advocating for and how very important this policy could be. This bill is big enough that I don't believe that if it were introduced in 2025 that it would have much energy, but we are hearing rumors that it's possible this bill gets introduced and pushed through the process, though it's starting to become increasingly less likely as every day goes on. So it's looking like Next Generation 911 technology and the legislation around it is going to be a project that we look for in 2026. As a reminder, we do have our Week 14 bill chart that you can take a look at. We are happy to announce that we did not have any detrimental bills passed this year, and almost every single one of them has been funneled. That work is extremely important, and it's fun, it's positive, and it's great to pass bills that are beneficial to the industry. But every bill that hurts the industry needs to be dealt with as well. And so a lot of the success we've had this year has been in putting bad ideas to rest rather than passing our bills through the legislative session. So while the bills that we want to pass are still active and we're still advocating for them, I would mention that a lot of the bad bills that we don't like have been funneled throughout the year, and so we're very proud of that as well. Please do continue to reach out to your legislators. This time of session, there is oftentimes a lot of free time that legislators can have. They are sitting around hoping that something happens, but a lot of the decisions that are being made are not necessarily decisions by the entire caucus, and so they do have a little bit more free time on their hands. So reach out to them, ask them how their day is going, and start building those connections, because they are going to be helpful during the interim and next legislative session. Feel free, of course, to reach out to me at any time if you have any questions about specific bills or where they are in the process. My email should be on the screen in front of me. I appreciate the time greatly, but look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.